Okay.
And we're about 15 seconds into the live feed.
You're good?
Yep, you're good on
Okay.
TV.
All right. I'm going to declare a quorum and call the City of Groton Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, May 26, 2020 to order. In response to State of Connecticut Executive Order Number 7B, Protection of Public Health and Safety During COVID-19 Pandemic and Response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings will be closed to the public at this time. Public meetings will
Counselor
be,
Carter.
Is now joining.
public meetings will be available to be listened to in real time by calling 860-629-5169, PIN 762594. Clerk Patrick, please call the roll.
Present via Skype or telephone are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Jamal Beckford, Councilors Lisa McCabe, Reginald Stanford, Guinevere Depot, Rashad Carter. In the room, City Clerk Deborah Patrick, staff Jill Russ, and also via Skype are Tim Umritz and Finance Director Ron Newhouse
Sue Blanchett,
and Sue Blanchett,
Len Medavita,
Len Minivilla,
Andrew Robbins,
Andrew Robbins,
Robert Tompkins,
Robert Tompkins,
Ron Newhouse,
Ron Newhouse,
Yi Yang,
Yi Yang,
and Tim Umritz.
Public Works Director Tim Umritz.
Okay, we're going to start, and as we just want to remind everybody, when you speak up, state your name so that for the record, so we know who you are. The first item that we're going to do tonight is 770. It's the fire department boat repair. So Chief Tompkins.
Yeah, how you doing? So we have a 20-foot boat that we use. It's towed. It's actually the police department's that they received approximately 15 years ago in a grant. It's a solid hull, but the sides are inflatable. They're tubes, and over time the tubes have sprung some leaks, and now it's to the point where they can't be repaired due to its age and the age of the adhesive. So we did some research. A new boat would cost $50,000, but we can get new tubes made. They're custom made in Spain. They take approximately 8 to 10 weeks. There is a place in Essex that will do that for us. They're the only place around here. The only other places that we found were in Florida and over on the West Coast. So as far as bids, we only got a price from Essex. That price was $11,700. That's for the custom-made tubes and then the installation, which we would split with the police department. But that's what I'm bringing forward today. That's over the $10,000 limit total price in order to fix that boat.
Okay, any questions from the council?
This is Lisa McCabe. I have a question.
Councilor McCabe?
So you said the tubes will be custom made in Spain. Do you think that there's going to be any issue with the COVID response timings right now that it would impact that 6 to 8 week delivery? And do we have the mechanism in place right now to use the old boat, or will we have a gap without a boat?
Well, we have, first, it's 8 to 10 weeks. I must have misspoke. I believe we just received this quote, so I'm assuming that they've talked to their supplier, and that's part of the COVID delay is built into that. We have the two boats. This boat, like I said, was the police department's, and we house it. It's a bigger boat than the other boat we have, but we would tow the boat, bring it down there, rendezvous with the police sometimes, and both of us would go out if necessary. We have a smaller 12-foot Zodiac, much less stable. Definitely would be something you would only use in close to land. So that's our options. The police department does have a boat also. I'm not sure if it's in the water yet. I know Chief Spellman talked about putting it in a little earlier this year. They don't man that regular, but at high, like 4th of July weekend, they might, and then they also could get to that boat, I believe, and deploy it. So those are our options right now. The boat is out of service, the bigger boat that I'm looking to get money to replace. It is actually in Essex because they needed to take measurements to get these tubes custom made. So, but there is a whole marine group organization in the area. So if we had any type of rescue situation, we could activate the marine group, and there's boats out of Old Saybrook, there's boats out of Groton Long Point, Mystic Fire Department. So we could get a boat on scene if we needed to.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
This is Mayor Hedrick. I did notice a police boat down at the Shanticasa Yacht Club when I was down there surveying some seawall damage at Project O.
Yeah, I know Chief Spellman was trying to get it in the water a little early because, people are a little antsy, and so they're getting to their boats a little earlier this year, and we've already had a few issues out on the water, and he wanted to be ready.
Right. Any other questions from council?
Yeah, this is Councilor Stanford.
Councilor Stanford, you're recognized.
Chief, is this the anticipated money would come out this year's current budget, or are you looking towards the new budget that would start effective July 1?
No, I would look to take it, like I said, I talked to Chief Spellman, and we're going to split the cost. So it would come out of this year's budget. I would find it in this year's budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not asking for additional funds. I believe that we can take it from current budgeted funds, but it is over the $10,000 limit.
Any other questions from the council? Hearing none, I need a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Councilor Stanford, second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
The next one is 771, purchase of highway department vehicles. That would be Tim.
Yep, this is Tim here. We have two trucks we want to purchase. One's a 550 Ford four-wheel drive. Is to replace a 2004 with 90-some thousand miles on it. We use this for plowing in the winter, and we use it all summer long for sidewalk repair or whatever jobs that we have. The price we've had, we've gone off a state contract, and with Gengris Ford, and it's come in at hold on one second, please. Come in at a total cost of $65,251.70, and that's with a 2-3 yard Mason dump body, emergency lighting, load cover, custom trailer hitch, 9-foot Western snow plow, and also a 3-yard sand spreader. So that's the first one. The second one would be a half-ton 4x4 pickup truck. It replaces a 2007. That truck also has 91,000 miles on it. This will replace 2007 that the foreman uses.
Okay,
Any other questions?
any questions from the council?
This is Counselor Depot.
Councilor Depot?
Are these planned replacements? Did we plan on replacing them this year, or did they wear out earlier, or what are we looking at age-wise?
No, they've been planned for a couple years now. We did go through the town budget process with them.
Okay, thank you.
This is Counselor McCabe. I have a question.
Councilor McCabe?
When we purchase these vehicles, do we trade in the old other vehicles, or do we sell them, or what do we do with the old?
We auction them off. We tend to get a better price auction them.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Councilor Stanford, make a motion and move. I so move.
Counselor Depot seconds.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Tim. Number 3 will be 561, Groton Utilities Financials. We will start with Electric Division Operating and Capital Budget, and I'll turn it over to E. E, are you there?
Hi, Mayor, this is Ron. Which one are we on? I'm sorry.
We're on 561, which is the Groton Utilities Financials.
Okay, yeah, I'll do these like we normally do. So, are we just
Well, wait a
in a
minute.
matter?
Well, these are their annual budgets.
The first one we have is the financials, which
Oh,
is the normal
okay.
monthly financials.
Okay,
So, in an effort to save a little bit of time, we'll just kind of go through these very quickly. There's nothing that jumps out of concern. So
okay,
if we start with the electric division on page 3, which is the year-to-date totals, the line 19 total revenues year-to-date is approximately 40 million, or about 2% or 800,000 below budget. And the shortage is made up mainly in the residential and commercial classes.
My apologies for interrupting. Ron, can you speak a little bit louder because we can't pick you up on the microphones here?
Sorry about that.
Thank
So
you.
on line 19, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
The total revenues year-to-date are approximately 40 million and about 2% or 800,000 below budget. The shortage is in the residential and commercial classes. Line 41, the operating expenses, the year-to-date are approximately 36 million and about 3.3% or 1.4 million below budget. And then on line 52, the net income from operations is approximately 4 million and 32.8% or 1 million over budget. So overall, the net income from operations for the electric division is approximately 1 million over budget currently at the end of April. And again, there's nothing that jumps out currently in the year-to-date numbers. So if we flip to the water division, page 8, line 17, the total water revenue year-to-date is approximately 8.8 million and 1.2 or 100,000 over budget. Line 30, the total operating expenses to date are approximately 7.9 million and 11.5 or 1 million under budget. Therefore, the line 44 net earnings before the DWSRF grant is about 772,000 or 169,000, or approximately 1 million, 169.9% or 1 million over budget, the net earnings. So again, the water division is currently over budget in their net earnings year to date, and again, nothing there stands out from an operational. The sewer division on page 13, line 15, the total sewer revenues year to date are approximately 3.7 million or 11.7%, approximately 390,000 over budget. Line 26, total operating expenses year to date are 2.2 million or 15% or 380,000 under budget. And line 37, the net income from operations is approximately 1.4 million or 128.9% or 780,000 over budget. So again, even the sewer division, along with the water and electric, are both currently over the targeted budget from year-to-date net income. So that's kind of a quick overview of the three divisions.
any questions on the electric, water, or sewer financials? Okay, we will go to the electric division operating and capital budget.
This is Ron again. I want to start the budget presentation by thanking Nicole, the entire finance team, along with the general managers and everyone else that helped with the preparation of these budgets. There's a lot of time, meetings, and thought that goes into them. So I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody that helped and make this process go as smoothly and seamlessly as possible. So I'm going to kind of give just a quick overview of the budgets themselves, the process, I should say. And it starts actually in January with a letter going out, and the time frame goes right up until April when it goes to the UC for presentation and approval. So it is very time consuming, and like I said, a lot of time and effort goes into it. The budget is prepared differently than the city budget that you've already seen and approved. The city budget is on a budgetary basis, or more along the lines of a cash basis, where this budget is truly a full accrual basis of budgeting. So therefore, there's some things that are a little different and some factors that are different than preparing the city budget. When preparing these three budgets, the main factors that we look at, one are the revenue projections, two are the operating expenses that the revenues can handle, capital projects that are proposed for projects that need to be completed, and then finally, being on the full accrual basis, we want to take a look at the cash flow and make sure that we're able to fund all of the projects and everything else. In the current year, the electric division's return to the city is again 4.1 million, which you saw when we did the revenue side of the city budget. No change from prior year. The way that the revenues are developed for electric and water were developed using an average of the prior 3 years ended December 2019, and for the sewer was the prior 12 months ended December 2019. For the electric and water, that was a change from the past where it was a 1 year, prior year historical look at. We trying to change that philosophy to make it go over an average of 3 years and then take into account any known changes or any rate changes or projected rate changes. For costs that are allocated across the divisions, admin time, things of that nature, they're allocated 60% to the electric, 30% to the water, and 10% to the sewer. Any expenses that are related to a particular division, if solely for either electric, water, or sewer, they are charged 100% to that division. There's no allocation. So that's kind of the overview of how the budget's built, again, with a lot of input. So if we want to start with the electric budget, and if we go to page 2, I don't know if everybody has their budgets. They were sent out with the April committee of the whole packet. And we'll just kind of take a high look at it, and then if there's questions, we can go into more detail. For the electric division, the total revenue proposed budget is 55.5 million, opposed to 55.1 from the previous year, or an increase of 421,000. Total operating and maintenance expenses, the proposed budget went to 16.4 million from 15.6 million, or an increase of 815,000. Within the operating earnings going from 3.5 million in the previous approved budget to a proposed budget of 3.1 million for the proposed 2021. Main changes in the budget with the revenue is based on the rate increase, taking into account with the historical usage. And then in the electric operations, there is one new position that was budgeted. There was some cleanup of previously misbudgeted items that needed to just be trued up, and also the allocation between capital and operating payroll. So with these three budgets, labor is divided. We look at the capital projects and factor in how much labor will be charged to the capital projects, and then how much will run into the operational. So you'll see from year to year that the operational labor will fluctuate based on capital projects that are proposed. The other main increase in the operations is in the admin and general expenditures. And this is truly, we had proposed in this budget, it hasn't come to council yet with the pandemic going on, to potentially issue debt to do some of these projects. So this budget includes the new debt and the bonding costs and interest associated with that. And then also the increase in the benefits that you saw on the city side. So that's the electric division. Page 2 from the operational standpoint. If you turn then to page 4, that's where the cash flow section of this is. Kind of might go back to about how it's prepared, and it shows the cash flow starting with the net earnings of the 2.4 million, going down to a total decrease in operating cash of just under 2 million, but still leaving the total cash balance at just under 12 million for the electric division. And that's again on page 4. And if we flip, and you'll see the capital projects, those start on page 6. And there is non-bonded capital projects, which are capital projects that are used based on using cash that's available in the bank. And there's also bond-funded capital projects, which that's the 2.5 million that we would like to request funding for using a bond fund in the current year. And again, that'll be a different conversation. So that's an overview of the electric budget. I don't know if there's any questions.
This is Mayor Hedrick. Deb, do you want me to move these one at a time or move all 3 of them at the same time to the mayor and council meeting?
I believe we should move them one at a time because each one would have their own resolution.
Okay. All right. Then in that case, I need a motion to move the electric division operating and capital budget to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Counselor McCabe, I second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, Ron, water?
So for the water, again, the same methodology was gone into preparing this budget. So if you start on page 2, the total revenue has increased from 10.6 million to 11.1 million, or $469,000 increase. The operating and maintenance expenses have gone from 9.4 million to a proposed budget of 2021 of 9.7 million. And the operating earnings went from a net loss of 55,000 to a net loss of just 2,000 to kind of bring this back up. In the past couple of years, we've budgeted for a loss just based on the funds that we had and just how we knew things were going to kind of flow out. So we did bring that back in, and it's almost a very level budget when you look at revenue versus expenses. The main changes in this budget are very similar to electric, with the water, the allocation between capital and operations. And then again, in the admin and general, there's also the bond issuance costs and interest and that type of stuff. So very similar changes between the electric and water, and not an overall huge increase. It's a total of 4% in the operating expenses and a 4% in the revenue.
This is Counselor Depot. I have a question.
Councilor Depot, you're recognized.
So as you said, the potential for bonding those capital projects, that hasn't been presented yet to us, but we're potentially approving a budget that includes it. When do we expect to get the presentation on that?
The issue that we're facing with that is we're not able to hold a Freeman meeting, which they would go to. So, I mean, it's up to the mayor if he wants to do that sooner and then kind of wait till it all clears up to have the Freeman meeting. I will tell you that we do have plans in place if for some reason this bonding does not go through. The bigger one is the electric with that, the allocation of the payroll. There's more payroll allocated there to capital funds. In the water division, most of their capital funds, I believe, are going to be outsourced, so it doesn't have as big of an effect. But we are keeping that in mind, and we know that we may need to move things around and change the thought process if that it does not go forward.
Okay, so if the bonding doesn't go forward,
Tompkins,
what
Robert,
what's going to
is
happen
now exiting.
to the budget?
We'd have to reevaluate and see where we could move things and what would change. Again, when these budgets were prepared, the thought process was that you would have already had all the bond information. I'm trying to remember what UC meeting that was originally approved in. But just when the pandemic hit, it kind of put everything on hold. So we didn't want to change the budget at the last minute for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been talked about on occasion as to how we're gonna do this. I don't have a 100% foolproof plan for you right now, but it is being looked at.
So this is Mayor Hedrick. Let me chime in a little bit. So I asked Ron to talk to bond counsel to see what we could do. And basically, due to the executive orders, the only time we could go for bonding right now is if we needed a short-term loan as a municipality to get through, or if we had capital improvement projects that were directly related to COVID response or COVID recovery, then we could go to bond counsel. Other than that, we have to wait until the executive order is lifted, and then we can go to bond counsel. As you know, we have, there are capital projects at the municipality that I want to get repurposed. It's not new bonding issue, but it's still got to go to bond counsel to reissue the bond for the projects we're going to do. And then we have new bond projects for electric, water, and sewer, which we would need new bonding for. And all of this bonding needs to go in front of the Freeman. So that's where we are right now, and those are the rules as I understand them, unless there's been any changes. Ron, have there been any changes?
Not that I'm aware of. The only other thing would be is if it was emergency work, or that there was risk of severe revenue loss or something along those lines. But it really is emergent or COVID related.
Right.
Can I just ask one more question?
Councilor Depot, you're recognized.
So looking at the bonded projects or the projects we plan to bond for, I mean, it's a lot of infrastructure stuff, working on pump stations. So are we going to be able to hold off without affecting possibly having to pay more because we're waiting longer to get these finished? Or is our timeline sufficient that we have wiggle room so that we're not running into emergency situations? Because obviously emergency situations usually cost more in labor and supplies and shipping and all of that stuff. So I guess I'm just curious how we're addressing that.
Okay. Ron G'day, would you like to answer that as far as projects go?
Yes, sir. This is Ron. Currently, the first quarter is being redesigned by Mark Byron and Bruce Kruzinski to ensure that we actually are working on approved expense-related non-bonded capital projects for the first quarter. So we've got a plan to keep things moving. Were we to have a failure on something that's on a bond fund project, we would have to spend expense money to get that done, and it would probably be a project big enough that it would have to go in front of you anyway.
Councilor Depot, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess with the delays that the coronavirus has caused, and just want to make sure we're planning around it so that we don't run into emergencies if possible. Obviously, can't control everything, but
Well, Ron Goday, some of these projects are, none of these are emergent, right? Some of these are longer term projects. We're planning the projects. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate. It's less accurate when you move over to the PAF, the sewer account. There's a lot of work that is in desperate need of getting done in the sewerage account, but for electric and water, the projects, for the most part, have been on the plan for multiple years, and it's just a continuation of getting to, when we get the funding, we continue on with the project and keep them moving forward.
Okay. Councilor Depot, does that address your question?
yes, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions on water? Hearing none. I need a motion to move Water Division operating and capital budget to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Council Depot, I so move.
Stanford, so moved.
We'll go with Depot as the mover and Councilor Sanford as second. Any additional comments? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. And lastly, sewer. Ron Uhas.
Yeah, so if we go to page 2 of the sewer budget, you'll see the total revenues budget increased from 3.9 million to 4.4 million. The total operating and maintenance expenses have increased from 2.6 million to the proposed budget of 3.3 million. And then the operating earnings, the current budget is 823,000 with the proposed 2021 budget of 670,000. The main increase in the sewer operations and maintenance, there is one new position that was created to bring the staffing of the plant, I believe, to 7 FTE, and there was also a transfer, a redistribution of a person who was previously charged to water into the sewer budget. There was also on the operations a facility assessment. Correct me if I'm wrong on the terminology, but to do a plant study and get that done in the current year. It was originally put in capital. It did get moved into operating where it should be as an operating expense. So that is the increase in the operations. And again, the bond interest and some bond issue costs are included in this budget in anticipation. So that's a summary of the sewer.
Okay. Any questions on the sewer operating budget and capital budget? Hearing none, I need a motion to move this line item to 6/1 to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Council Depot, I so move.
Councilor Stanford, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, we will go to 742. Under Groton Utilities, the first thing we will discuss is the PAF sludge removal. Okay, who wants to present this? Ron Goday, is that you?
Yes, Mark at the last minute got
Oh, it's
called
Mark?
away.
Oh, is Mark, okay, so Mark's not here?
Right, he was going to
Yeah.
actually do these, but I can
Okay.
move ahead.
All right, go ahead.
So our sludge contract to haul away sludge from the PAF was expiring as of the end of this year. We did a bid and have awarded it to the low bidder for approximately $120,000. The bids are by volume that you send out. We typically spend about $100,000 a year on this service at the PAF. Other than that, it's not all exciting of a bid.
Okay,
Council Depot?
Councilor Depot, you're recognized.
So the contract is for not to exceed $120,000. And what did we spend this past year? What was the previous contract?
The contracts are by the gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And we have spent between the last 3 years between 95,000 and about 107. It's been all right around there. So the contract is by the gallon, and we actually cut a purchase order for total spend. So it's the purchase order that's 120, and the new prices are slightly higher than what they were before. They all came in higher, so we don't anticipate spending more than 120,000, and that is budgeted money.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the PAF sludge removal truck, sludge removal? Okay, hearing none, I need a motion to move this to mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Counselor
Council
McKay,
Stanford, second.
Okay, we'll go with Councilor Stanford. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. PAF crane truck.
Yes, the crane truck is very rusty and has failed. It has approximately 100,000 miles, which is all local within the city. We actually bid the truck out. And as you'll recall, we agreed to bring all capital purchases for the PAF to the council for review before we spend capital dollars. It is less than 50, but we agreed to bring everything here just to watch the cash in the account. The low bid came in just under 50 at about $48,000. And the next lowest bid was $66,000.
Councilor Depot?
Sorry. So I know that we use the state contracts to purchase our trucks, which is what the other department acknowledged they were doing. Is there a reason that we didn't go through that for this truck?
We do two things simultaneously. We give it to the state bid, and we compare it to the state bid list, and then we allow it to go off bid because this is a custom built truck similar to the one we're going to talk about after this, and pricing tends to vary widely depending on the aftermarket equipment. So we're just trying to do the best bid overall.
Right. So we did check the state contract, but this bid is better.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the PAF crane truck? Hearing none, I need a motion to move the PAF crane truck to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Councilor Stanford, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Electric bucket truck.
Yes, this is similar to the last one. We have a fairly old and rusty bucket truck. So we bid that out. These are custom built trucks, and all vehicle replacements that the utilities are doing right now are on a long-term vehicle replacement plan. The electric company actually has a vehicle replacement fund that we fund every year with some cash, and then we spend that money over time because the trucks tend to be very expensive. The lowest qualifying bidder was this winter at $264,000 with James Kiley.
Are you paused or are you done?
I'm done, sorry.
Okay. All right. Councilor Depot?
I was just going to ask, so what makes the other bids not qualify, the ones that say no, that they don't meet specifications? What disqualified them?
It's either the way the boom was made or the type of boom. Some of the booms Vern Page is really the expert on it. Some go over and under and are too high and don't fit under one of the bridges that we require all of our bucket trucks to go through when traveling through. I believe it's the train bridge that they go under.
This
We
is
require.
this
Go
is
ahead, Pete.
Mayor Hedrick. Isn't this also a slide boom? Wasn't
This
that
is,
one of the things that was a unique qualifier for this truck?
you're right. This is a squirt boom truck.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the electric bucket truck? Okay. Hearing none, I need a motion to move the electric bucket truck to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Counselor McCabe,
Council
second.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Electric transmission MOU.
In your package, you should have a copy of the current draft MOU that's in process. There's a new project that's coming across with the electric bond fund projects. However, it only went through Utility Commission last week. It's a $15.2 million project. This project qualifies 100% for reimbursement by the transmission system that the ISO runs. We own 1.7 miles of transmission lines right before you get to Buddington Substation. We are obligated to upgrade these lines due to owning transmission lines, which is considered a public asset. So all public assets are managed by ISO and they operate the transmission grid. They basically tell us what we have to do. In compensation for that, all investments that we make in that transmission system are allowed an 8% return on investment, along with all operating and maintenance expenses that we spend on the system. So this investment will have an income related with it. So basically a $15 million spend will give us income on the electric company of more than $2 million a year, which is enough to pay for the bonding or the borrowing costs, as well as any dollar for any maintenance and upkeep on the system. So we ran all the numbers through finance so they would understand. And also in your package, there's a letter from the CMEC General Counsel that explains Groton Utilities' obligation to perform this upgrade. What Mark Byron and the operations team has done is they've been working hand in hand with Eversource, and the MOU that we want to enter into with Eversource basically is a sole source agreement moving forward with the way that this transmission work and the engineering is going to be done. So what will happen is Eversource is going to bid the engineering on the project. They will also be bidding the construction on the project. And the MOU allows Groton Utilities to work with Eversource to use their vendors to perform the work on our 1.7 miles of line at the very end as it feeds Buddington. So it's not, the MOU is not an obligation on GU to contract with all those obligations in the contracting will run through Utility Commission and City Council as they're done. However, we will rely on this MOU as a backstop, as a sole source agreement, basically to use the same contractor that Eversource is. Did that make sense, or did I talk too much?
Any questions from the council?
This is Counselor Depot.
Councilor Depot, you're recognized.
No, I just want to say that was a good, thorough explanation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Because it is confusing a little bit.
Any, excuse me, any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I need a motion to move electric transmission MOU to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Council stand for second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Master Service Agreement, LIG.
Excuse me, sorry, I muted myself. Operations recently sent out bids that we're going to call master service agreements. The utilities purchasing policy allows us to enter into preferred vendor contracts. They bid electric services and awarded the contracts to both BHI in the next resolution that you'll see, which is LIG. LIG is a smaller company. BHI is a larger company. Both companies do engineering services. And then BHI also has construction services available. So all expenditures with either of these firms will run through the appropriate procurement policy to issue a purchase order to the vendor. However, these will be preferred vendors that will allow the utility not to be bidding out every single project that comes along in the future. But you will see any expenditures and approve them as appropriate based on the spending amount. These two vendors did have the best scores, and the electric team did perform the scoring internally. And they actually had these two vendors had the best pricing. Any other questions?
This is Counselor Depot. Do you want to just talk, Mayor? Sorry.
You're muted, Keith.
Oh.
You are correct. Councilor Depot, you are recognized.
Okay. So I would imagine also picking these preferred vendors allows a little bit of expedited projects, makes it so that we don't have to spend that long time on the bidding process. So for things that are kind of urgent too, this makes it a little quicker, right?
That's 100% true. We're in the process of doing the same thing for the water side of the business. And we're also bidding services like that for the PAF.
Yeah, this is Mayor Hedrick. One of the things that I wanted to do when I first got here is it's kind of like a multi-award contract or a preferred vendors list. What this does is we pre-screen, and so then we have who we're going to go to based on the pre-screening process, and this expedites things. It makes it a lot easier. One, it saves time, and potentially it saves money because they know we're going to come to them. And if we find out later on that they're taking advantage of us, then we can always back out of the agreement and not use these vendors. But we think this is going to be a good thing for the utility, and the city is going to be looking at this as well. Any other questions on the master service agreements? Okay, hearing none, I need a motion to move master service agreement LIG to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Counselor McCabe, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Master service agreement for BHI. Any questions on that? Okay, I need a motion to move master service agreement BHI to the mayor and council meeting of 6/1/2020.
Counselor Depot, I so move.
Council stand for second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstention, motion carries. And that's it. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is 690, the city budget presentations. This is informing. Ron Uhas.
Yep, so in your package, you should have received the expenditure summary for the general fund as of April 30th, 2020. Again, it has all the departments with their expenditures through April versus the budget and their variance. Currently, with 2 months remaining, that leaves about 17% if you annualize the budget. And as you can see, everybody is on target with the percentage remaining of being good. There's nobody that looks like they're going to potentially come in over budget at this point. So everybody looks like they're on track. So I don't know if there's any specific questions on any department.
Any questions on the city budgets? As far as where the departments are? This is for the 2020 budget, the year that we're in.
Correct.
Okay, all right, hearing none, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go to 748, which is donation request, Groton Heights Waterfront Festival. We've received an email and a phone call that says that the Groton Heights Waterfront Festival is not going to happen this year, and it's going to be postponed it's canceled until 2021. So there's nothing to act on in this case because it's not going to happen. So with that, I have nothing. Oh, wait, hold on. I do have something. So there are several line items here that I would like to delete because they're not active anymore. And if we decide that we need to bring them back, we can always bring them back in this form or another form. So the first one is line item 680, which is adopt a sign program. And I'd like to all I need is basically a consensus to delete this from the agenda. Any issue?
Councilor Stanford make a motion to delete
Okay.
680 from the agenda.
Deb, do I need a motion and a second in order to do this, or can I?
Motions and seconds, I believe we just need a consensus that
Okay.
these items have been dealt with as much as they need to be.
All right, then you know what, here's what we'll do. We'll go through all of them and then we'll get the consensus on everything. And if I don't have consensus on them all, then we'll go back. So the adopt a sign program, the next one is 752 Thayer Mahan presentation. You guys have received that. And that's actually all I can say about that. So that's done. We've had the Thayer Mahan presentation. The next one is 753, the Groton sale. That has now been designated that's going to go over in front of the library. 762, the Thames River Gateway Twin Sculptures. I'm looking to take this off because there's from sector, that's not true, from the Cultural Coalition and from the artist, there's been no renewed interest in this, so I'll take it off. The last one is Beach and Park Committee, because we don't have anything going on there other than their normal monthly meetings. So I would like to get council's concurrence to remove those from the agenda.
I have a question, Mayor. This is Councilor Carter.
Councilor Carter, you're recognized.
Thank you. The sign, is that the one that the adopt a sign, was that the one where we had the initial plans to see if residents wanted to purchase or make donations for the entryways for the city?
No, this was the adopt a. Oh wait.
I believe former former Councilor Rusk, I believe she brought that up for like, it might have been beautification of the city. I'm not sure. I don't know
Right.
if that was the one or not.
So the answer to your question is yes.
All right. So my second question is because I actually was thinking about that probably a month ago when I drove into the city just to see where that was at. So in my opinion, I think that's something that needs to eventually get looked at.
Yang
Is that
Yi
easier?
is
it
now
easier
exiting.
Are you guys there?
Yep, we're here. So
Is it easier to just bring that up again when the time is right?
Yep.
Or is it easier to just keep that on there so we can go back after it again eventually here few months down the line when
well,
everything's
if you're looking at doing it a couple months down the line, I'll just leave it out. I'll leave 680 on, but my recommendation is remove 752, 753, 762, and 763.
Yeah, just yeah. I mean that's cool. And I don't know if the other council is familiar with it, but just briefly, what had happened was we had looked at refurbishing the signs, the entryways into the city, and the tag on that, the price tag on that was fairly high. So myself and former Councilor Russ had thought the idea of maybe having donations where if a resident wants to purchase a sign for a specific fee, they could have their name like donated from like the Smith family, you know. There's several towns that adopt that as well that have that. So that's where that was, and that was the purpose for it then. So
All right, we'll leave it there. Not a problem. But for 752, 753, 762, 763, do I have council's concurrence to delete them?
This is Councilor McCabe. I concur.
Okay.
Counselor Depot, I
Counselor
do as
Stanton.
well.
Concur.
All right, then we will remove them. I have nothing else. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
This is Councilor McCabe. I make a motion to adjourn.
Counselor Stanford second.
We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. And thanks for everyone that made this meeting happen. I appreciate it. We are now adjourned.
Thank you.
Meeting is over.
Thanks. Have a good night. Be safe.
Good night.